Welcome to the OFX pod. That's terrible. Welcome to the OFX podcast. Enunciate, Dave. Enunciate. I'm Dave Flax. Along with me, as always, is our relay racing ragamuffin, Bethany McChesney. How you doing, Beth?
I'm good. I'm tired.
I'm tired. Okay, so I know we had this later in the list, but let's start with Beth's health.
Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, my health. Yeah, going into this race, I was struggling with an injury, which is stressful. I've been pretty good lately, but kind of a fluke incident happened. And so mentally that was draining, kind of making sure that was going to be okay. And then I run a gym and everyone was getting sick
Hmm.
like the 2, 3 weeks before. And I'm like, you can't get sick. You can't get sick. I was doing everything I could to not get sick, hyperdosing with everything imaginable. And then the weekend before, I felt the fever come on and the cough, and I'm like, you can't get sick. And it did kind of hit its peak the first day of DEKA Worlds. So definitely something like a chest infection or pneumonia. But I didn't really mention it to Heather. Not I knew I was gonna do whatever it took anyways. And there's an amount of I know I'm capable of a certain level no matter what. And it's just gonna be a matter of you suffer, and it's going to take like an extreme amount of mental focus to make it happen, but I can make it happen. But yeah, it was a struggle. Um, but I the team racing with a teammate is just so different. Like I think if it was just me, I don't know how it would have went, but having someone, and Heather and I have raced together for a couple of years, and we had big goals this year, and I just not wanting to disappoint someone and knowing what she's put into this too. I was in my head just you're gonna do whatever you can, and you control as much as you can, and then just kind of accept that there's going to be like a certain amount of suffering, and that's okay. And I know I'm not the only one that was racing this weekend, not 100%. I had a lot of conversations with people that were kind of battling off injuries and illness too. This time of year is tough to
Yeah.
race. Everyone gets sick at some point, and yeah, it just kind of came to probably I was probably just at the worst point of it on the fit day and the mile day. So um yeah, but we battled through it, and I did, the best that I could, and we did okay. And I don't know how much different the outcomes necessarily would have been. And some of it too for me was my kids were there, and even just showing my kids that things are not always 100% when you step on a start line. In fact, most of the time it's not.
Yeah.
There's there's something there, right? To have the blessing of standing on a start line and you're like 110%, even that you had a good sleep the night before. Like there's so many to be
Mhm.
110% on a start line is just so rare.
Yeah.
So you do it anyways, and there's always something. And yeah, so that was kind of all of my why, and it was big enough for me that I felt like I could do it justice for Heather. And um yeah, I spiked a pretty good fever after both of the races. Um and not really sure what was I was going to wake up to the next day, but yeah, we got through it. And I'm crashing pretty hard right now, and some of it is just the mental load that comes with really going to the well when the well is not that deep to begin with. So today it's probably actually the worst day for me because again, adrenaline kind of coming home and wanting to get back into things and get back with my clients and help them out. But today, yeah, I'm probably crashing pretty hard. And people get that too with when we talk about the post race
Mhm.
depression. And we were all kind of hanging on to get through this race weekend. It's pretty late in the season. December 12th is pretty late. It's kind of a point where mentally a lot of people are shutting it down, and Christmas is there and the end of the year and weather and um so um yeah, you kind of have this, there's so much of a build towards it, and then your system is just like, okay, like I'm done. I did what you wanted me to do, and now you just have to give me a little bit of a break. So that's been today for me. So I know people can relate to that, and I do often like warn people who are kind of new to that experience that you're going to feel pretty low
Yeah.
after, and the motivation is going to likely not be there, and that's okay, and it will come back. And yeah, to just kind of anticipate that. So that's where I am right now. But
So two things. So right before the race, and you talk about going in healthy. I was really lucky because I went into this weekend very healthy, like physically health, like body ready to race, healthy, and like illness very healthy. So I was really quite lucky that way, especially because the week before, my brother had to go into the hospital for surgery, and his wife doesn't like to drive in Toronto, which is very understandable. So she asked if I would bring her and her kids to visit him in the hospital. I'm like, yeah, of course. So I go and I go to pick her up, and she's like, oh, everybody's sick. And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, everybody's sick in the family, and I'm taking them to a hospital where we're gonna do that. And I'm like, I seriously considered wearing a mask.
yeah, yeah,
I
I
was like,
considered wearing a mask too for the last few weeks at the gym,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm
I
like,
was
nope,
like,
don't be that person.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I know.
Anyway, so just keep your distance from everybody. Don't touch anything. Wear mittens. I don't know, whatever.
Wash your hands. Yeah.
Just constantly. So I mean, I got lucky. I got lucky. So I was good going in. Now, granted, I was pretty tired by the time any of my races had hit because I'd been on my feet all day. But I
Yeah.
mean, everybody was tired, right? Everybody had fatigue in their legs and whatnot. But I was really lucky. Um, and despite spending my birthday at this race, which was kind of cool, I would be all for them moving it a few weeks earlier next year.
It
Like
was a bit, in my opinion, it was a bit too late.
I think so too. Now I don't know what their plans are for next year. I'm sure that they probably haven't sorted that out yet, but I would love for it to be a few weeks earlier because yeah, this is a tough time of year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only working half of December because between this this week off and Christmas, like there's not a lot going on. So I would like to see them do that. And just while we're touching on, I did spend my birthday there. Two awesome things. One, thank you,
Where
everybody.
would you rather spend your birthday,
I
Dave?
honestly had a blast. And you know how you get when it's your birthday and you get like 8 million Facebook messages of happy
Yeah.
birthday? I got that in person last
Yeah.
weekend. So I mean, like everybody I walked by, it was great. And then you guys, they surprised me with a special birthday pizza at home, which was one of the coolest time timed surprises I've ever seen because we were sitting there in the one house just discussing the day's events. And I actually looked at Ryan and said, I am really hungry. Do we have anything to eat? And like 2 seconds later, you guys walked in with the pizza, which was just a complete coincidence. It worked out really well. So that was awesome. And also my clients at Farm Girl sent me a really hilarious video, which I'm going to post on my Instagram. I have like posted almost nothing from the event from the weekend because I've just been too busy. But yeah, so that was really cool. Thank you to everybody for that. So yeah, hopefully a couple of weeks earlier. I would love for it to be in November.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and give us a little more time. Where do you want to go from there? There's lots of things to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, maybe let's get into the races a little bit.
Do I get in the races, or do you want to do the draft first?
Okay, yes, the draft.
The draft, which was very important because it just is. It's the only thing I win.
Did you win? Wait.
I'm gonna put out the teams here. These were the teams.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Oh, hold on, I'll spin here.
Remind me, because I know a couple people I don't remember.
Okay. With first pick, Yancey had first pick overall. All right. His team was Tara Jackson, Grayson Kilgore, Brooklyn Nichols, Mark Polzin, Dylan Scott, and Ksenia. I'm sorry, I cannot even attempt the last name.
Oh, he had a good team.
You had second pick, did you not? No, I had second
Sure.
pick. You had third pick.
Mm.
So in second, with the second pick was me. I had Katie Duke, Colin Steefer, Cole
Oh,
Walkington, Chelsea Grant, Kayla Sedano, and Janelle Teal.
Oh, good picks too.
Bethany with the third pick had Rylan Shadag, Lauren Weeks, Kevin Gregory, Heather White, Kat Fassbender, and Nick Riker.
I picked my friends.
So in third place with 81 points, Bethany McChesney,
Was me. Yeah,
because she picked people who every one of your person raced one
once.
race,
Yeah.
and every one of them scored at least 11 points.
Mhm.
So that meant every one of them came in like a top four or better, but they
Mhm.
all raced once. Well,
I
Rylan started his second race, but I had to pull out due
Yeah.
to injury. Luckily, not a bad injury. So anyway, so yes, so I mean, but like Rylan, he won the race he was in. Lauren, she won the race she was in. Kevin scored in the podium. Heather, she was up there in the top five. Uh, Kat came second. Nick Riker came third. Like,
Mhm.
you know, they just yeah, that's all they did.
Yeah. I just didn't, yeah, play the averages of
Yeah.
the multiple races.
But
Yeah.
they were all very cool people. Not that
Yeah.
in
You can't not pick Lauren Weeks just because she's only doing one race.
exactly. So
Mm.
do I say who's first or who's second? Yeah.
Okay, who won, Dave?
Okay. In first place with 145 points is me again.
Whoa.
All right. Katie Duke, she got like I believe it was a fourth, a third, and somewhere in the top 10. So she scored like 32 points. Colin Steefer just
Yeah.
mashed it. He was the highest point getter on the weekend. Was Colin
Yeah.
Steefer with 40. And I remember when I picked him, I said, this is the pick that's going to win it for me. And it did.
Yeah.
Cole Walkington, 29 points. He did good. Chelsea, she got six. Kayla, she got nine. And then Janelle Teal for my last pick got 29 points.
You did pick some names that showed up really big this weekend.
Yeah, I did. So that was 145, but it was quite close. Yancey with a total of 137.
Oh,
That's right. So, I mean, his first pick, Tara, was supposed to run all three races, but she only ran two.
yeah.
But she got 15 like points in each race. She got the max points she could get. Grayson got 28 points. Like did fantastic. Brooklyn with 26. Everybody else, Mark Poles and Dylan, which was one of his last picks, got 15. And Ksenia, she got 15 points as well. So he did really well. So it was probably it was the best Yancey's done.
That's true.
Very true. It was the best Yancey's done.
Hmm.
All right, so that was the draft. I win again, third time running.
You are good at this.
This is the only one I'm good at. I've screwed up every other draft or picks that I do. This is the only one I can pull off. I got to make it more complicated though, because Yancey's catching up. So
Yeah, I mean, I think when you throw team races in there, it makes it a little bit more complicated. I would have done better
yes, yes, you would have big time. But
because
yeah,
I got
I
Heather.
mean, maybe next year, and people can tell us this if you think we should include teams and get like each person gets a half point because they're half of the team for their team efforts. So I think that I'd be all right with that. But just think how even much more confused Yancey would be.
Oh, there's so many more names too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, some serious people.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the draft. Now you wanted to go to
Yeah, well, we can talk about the races
okay. Should we
and our
do
highlights of them.
all right? You want to start with the solos? Let's start with the solos and start with I guess the fit. All right, that's just random.
Hmm.
Let's just go random.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Lauren Weeks.
Yeah, so Lauren Weeks showed up for the fit. It was a very busy weekend for her, so she was a little bit on the fence. She had qualified also with Anthony, which would have been a very cool co-ed relay for them, but they happened to end up moving this weekend.
Yes.
But Lauren still made the trip while Anthony was moving them.
Talk
Um,
about the best way to get out of moving your stuff, eh?
I know I
Oh,
hate
babe, I'd
moving.
like
It's
to
a world
help, but I gotta
championship.
go.
Yeah, and man, Lauren Weeks, I mean, we know Lauren's a good runner, but I the pace that she took that race out in. At first I was like, no way, like is this just the first 500? But she obviously she she maintained it to a degree, but her first 500, she hit the first station in 90 seconds because I was timing it. So being slightly short, she was probably running a 3:15 kilometer. And I don't know if her pace slowed that significantly. We don't really have the splits online, but she took that race out from the gun and just ran a blistering pace. I know she beat her world record in the end, and
So
it ended up really being a race. What's that?
it shows 130.7 for her first 500.
Yeah, 130. Yeah. And it was the first station was just slightly off of it was a short straightaway off of the start line. I guess about 7 seconds was my estimate. So I'm guessing her 500 was in a 3:15 kilometer. And then the race was truly for second place between Catherine Fassbender and Morgan Schultz, Morgan being the uh, world champ last year. And, Morgan too, I had a lot of conversations with people where they're like, I'm just kind of tired and I just want to break. And people were just hanging on for this weekend. And Morgan was a bit in that state too. And people have done a lot of high roxes this fall, and she wasn't really sure how things would play out, but she was going to give it her best go. So there was a lot. It was a very close race with her and Catherine Fassbender, and Catherine did end up taking second place, but it was a very close race, a lot of back and forth there. So second was then Catherine, and then third was Morgan. So a
I knew
great showing.
I knew Catherine was a great runner. I had no idea she was so strong.
Mhm.
Like I didn't know a lot about her, and just seeing her, like how physically strong she was, I was like, wow, that's
Well, and she comes from High Rocks. So
Mhm.
she's obviously it's something she's worked on, and I know she's been working more on her strength because the running is more likely her forte.
Mhm.
Um yeah, so she improved from her time that she ran in Philly where she qualified, the only other DEKA fit she's ever done. Um yeah, so definitely someone to look out for in the future of DEKA fit specifically.
Yeah, I was very impressed with her and Morgan too. And Morgan, she did an interview with the OCR Report after, and Morgan said she was absolutely delighted with her performance.
Yeah.
And she's just said she's like just fast, and she goes, I'm coming off a spot where I wasn't expecting a ton out of myself, and I did really well. So
Yeah, and we know too Morgan's been pretty sick this fall. She
yeah,
missed a
yeah,
couple high rocks as she was supposed to do and just, had some health stuff. So yeah, I think that was a really good performance for Morgan.
yeah, and overall, like the race was again a good race, and everything went quite well. Anybody else in the fit that jumped out to you?
On the women's side.
Yeah, the women's side.
So well, we had Tanya Thies come in
Yeah,
from where's she from? Just from
Luxembourg.
okay, Luxembourg. And I didn't know who she was. And she ended up finishing fifth and a great showing. Same thing, there was so much back and forth in the fourth to eighth place. So you didn't always know who was going to end up there. And she had an amazing race. So one of the only international athletes that were there, truly international, that came over for this one. So yeah, she put in a fantastic race. And again, it's kind of interesting when people show up who you don't really know who they are because you don't really have expectations or anything. So yeah,
Yeah.
she was our fifth place finisher.
Yeah, and I think she's a bit of a boomer bust racer. I think sometimes she gets it, and it all goes well, and she puts in a killer race like that. And I think a lot of other times maybe she misses it a little bit, and
Mhm.
has a less than stellar race, but she shows she got potential. Like she can
Yeah.
move.
Yeah, and Stephanie Hellman was up there and always running really, really well. So
Stephanie Hillman is the opposite. She's super consistent.
super consistent.
You
Yeah.
always know what you're gonna get out of Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Who else on the list there? Katie Duke.
Hmm.
Katie Duke in fourth place put in a great run. She had a great weekend all across the board.
Yeah.
Bridget Brown had a good run as well.
Hmm.
Oh, and Moonsta from Spain as well in the sixth position, 34-44.
Mhm.
I think the Spaniards all represented themselves well,
Mhm.
showing that, yeah, what about the guys? The guys, our boy, Team OFX original, Dylan
Yeah.
Scott.
Dylan came in with
First
the win.
first solo world championship.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. And I think he ran the exact race that he wanted to run. Now he did another interview afterwards, and his time this year was 29:05.
Mhm.
And so the question is, how does that compare to some of the times maybe from last year and the year before when you did have some other competitors there like Rylan, Rich Ryan, Ryan Kent that weren't there this year? Does that 29:05 translate to pretty much like their high 28s, being as the standards are a bit different and take a bit longer now?
Uh, yes, because they're with the standards with the lunges and the burpees, it does take seconds longer in each station. So yes, uh, for sure, it would be very comparable to that.
I think so too. I would have
Yeah,
loved to have seen Rylan get to race him this year.
yeah,
That would have been an epic battle. And for those of you who don't know why Rylan didn't race him, it's because he didn't qualify.
yeah. Ryland didn't have the opportunity when his health was to race a fit, so he just didn't qualify in the fit. But he was there cheering on his friends, so
Yeah, and as much as we would like to see that, you just can't throw it. But yeah, so he was great. Another guy who had a fantastic weekend in second, Grayson Kilgore.
yes.
I am becoming more and more of a fan of every day.
Yeah, and his running looked so solid. And I
Mhm.
don't know if we would always think of Grayson Kilgore as a really good runner. He's obviously an extremely strong athlete in the stations and on the ergs, but yeah, Grayson's running looked fantastic this weekend.
Well, he said that he went in there and his plan was to hang on and then obviously make a move at the bike in the tank
Hmm.
because those are so strong for him. And he said, you saw he was in third chasing Nick Riker.
Yeah.
He also had a
Who's an
fantastic,
amazing runner.
yeah, Nick Riker's a great runner. So
Yeah.
he was
So
in third.
if Grayson's going to use his strengths, he knows that's where he's going to get him is a bike and a tank.
Well, and that's what happened. So he passed him on the bike. I think he was maybe 15 seconds faster on the bike than Nick. Passed him there, and then on that run, so he passed him there. Then I think Nick got back ahead of him, and then on the run to the tank, he passed Nick on the run actually, and then Nick passed him back, and he thought, I can't get into this. I need to
Conserve.
conserve and hit it at the tank.
Yeah.
Hit it at the tank, and that's what he did. So he races a very smart race, and he knows what he's much more analytical. He's not just this monster. He's analytical.
Hmm.
He knows what he's doing. So he put in a great race, came second place, and then was awesome with that. And Nick Riker again on the podium. Just last year he came second. This year he came third. And Nick was saying that he maybe didn't have the build that he did last year for this, so he was very, very pleased with his performance. And
Hmm.
he said he was very motivated by his students because he's recently become a teacher, and so he had a great
That's
one.
good.
Um, who else stood out for you with this?
Um, I mean, with this one, I this weekend I was watching Cole Walkington because he
Oh,
put himself into the elite races for all three. And he was in the mix with this one as well. He ended up finishing seventh, but had just had such a great showing and was competitive in there. So, um,
if you take that bike out of these races and replace it with something else, maybe some sort of athletic
any
movement,
agility
any
movement,
agility move, and we may be crowning Cole Walkington as a champion.
absolutely. Yeah, probably the smallest guy in the field for, well, I mean, any of them,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
The fit, the mile, the strong.
yep.
Um, but yeah, he looked so solid all weekend. But yeah, he was definitely a standout for me in this one too.
Yeah, and we had two Spanish competitors in this race, Powell and Alfonso. And I think Those guys are absolute monsters. They're great athletes. But in this race, I think they got screwed over by Derek York. I don't think they realized that Derek York is infamous for going out extremely hot,
Oh.
like ludicrously hot, and they went with him.
Oh.
And a lot of the North American guys, they know Derek, and they knew, no, 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 we don't do that here.
Yeah, yeah.
We let Derek go and run his thing on his first couple of laps, and we race our race. So I think
Hmm.
they may have got caught up in that a little bit.
Hmm.
And I definitely think it affected them because I watched those guys race later on, and they are deadly fast.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and then I mean Colin Steefer in fourth,
yes,
a little bit behind that top three, but I mean he was still right there. So
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's no harm in coming fourth behind those three guys,
no. Yeah.
especially when you do what you did later on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean for Colin he knew he had some other races too that maybe suited his strengths a bit more. So
Yeah. Since we're on the fit, we'll talk about the teams a little bit. And should we get through the whole controversial decision part?
yeah.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way because that's probably what a lot of people want to know about. I did talk about it on Matt's live stream. I was on there for a little bit on Monday. But basically what happened, and I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna do my best to pronounce everybody's name properly. So just give me 1 second here because I really struggle to pronounce Dave. All right. Co-ed, elite, elite, elite. This is harder to find than I thought.
Alphonse Deroux.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the male elite team. There we go.
Yep.
All right. So what we had was a situation where the the race starts, the gentlemen are off, everybody's going, come right down to the burpees, it's right down to the wire. And we have a situation where James Muscart is the first person across the line. David Magida and I believe it was Alphonse are pretty much side by side. I actually think Alphonse may have inched David just a little bit across the
Mhm.
line.
Yeah.
And then um, Powell was literally on David's back, like he was with contact with
Yeah.
Dave across the
Yeah.
line. So this is how close it was. And what happened? So basically, both teammates have to cross the line. So Jay and Dave were the first two teammates across the line. However, at the start of the race, Alphonse and Powell were further back in the start corral, and Dave and Jay were near the start. So we had a situation where the team crossing the line first was not showing the fastest chip time.
Mhm.
So the discussion became who is the winner? And there was a long discussion. I mean, a long discussion. Thank you to everyone who helped with it and to the people who stayed tuned into the OCR report to the end. Hats off to you. Well done. That was a long discussion, a lot of debate. There was a lot of debate back and forth. In the end, this was a decision that was my call that I guess I got the final say on. And the reason, Craig, we crowned Dave and Jay the winners. The reason being is in the rule book, it states that in the event of a photo finish, Spartan approved video can be used to determine the first team to cross the first. Wouldn't have to be teams. It could be solo. It could be
Mhm.
determined the first person or team to cross the line. And in this situation, timing chips may be overruled. So in this situation, the first team that crossed the line, I went to this rule. So essentially, I went with the rule book and
Mhm.
followed what the rule book said, and we awarded the win to Dave and Jay. Not everybody agrees with it. However, everybody in that conversation, including the athletes, including Angel, who runs Spanish DEKA, who was quite frankly was on the other side of the debate than myself, were nothing but incredibly respectful, incredibly classy, and true sportsmen. And hats off to them for that because that was not easy. I mean, when you get stuck on the negative, the bad side of that decision, it fucking sucks. It really
Yeah.
does. And
Yeah.
they were classy guys, right? So great for them, and they put in an amazing race. And I hope that it all comes down to everybody just focuses on that was a great race
Yeah.
because it really was a great race. Very exciting. Um, so yeah, that was the long and short of it. But the reason it took so long was, quite frankly, I wanted to hear as many opinions from the officials. It was, mostly myself, DEKA and DEKA officials. I wanted to hear from all. I wanted to hear everybody's thoughts on it, everybody's position on it, as much as possible. I did not talk to the athletes until after, because the athletes, in my mind, in that situation, they're just too close to it, right? You need to be a slightly
It's emotionally charged.
That's right. You need to be slightly removed from it. And as much as everybody's got a bias, you
Yeah.
need to try to be as unbiased as possible. Um, I did hear one person say, well, of course, and it was jokingly, well, of course he picks Jay. He's Canadian. I'm like, you talk to
Is
Jay. You talk to Jay and tell me he's Canadian. I
Yeah.
defy you. Anyway, yeah. So it just came down to, from my perspective, following the rule book. Does that mean the rule book should be adjusted? I personally don't think so. Some people, and in that part, some people might disagree, but I think that we were very lucky to have the rule book stated out exactly what to do in that situation.
Well, I was worried that this wasn't defined yet in the rule book and we were gonna have to make it up on the fly. So I was glad that it had stated um that essentially
Yeah.
the yeah, gun time was going to rule because truly championship races it should be gun time. It shouldn't be chip time because then like the race itself and what's happening within the race isn't as authentic if it's someone could start way back in the corral, take a pee break, start a minute later, and then you don't really know or whatever because maybe they didn't want the hype of being within it.
Mhm.
And the way it would be in competitive road racing, there's a start line that's ahead of the masses, that is the race and it's gun time and it has nothing to do with chip time. And because then a true authentic race happens and
Yes.
you have the people diving for the line in order to get their body in front of the other person. And I do believe that it should be gun time in the end.
Yeah.
So lesson to people too, if you know you're going to be one of those top teams, don't stand at the back of the corral. I mean, I know that that gets a little bit tricky if people are fighting for a spot on the line, but just so that this is going to be a gun time race. So get yourself across the line. Um, yeah, so that was a bit of a discussion a lot of the weekend, gun time versus chip time.
Yeah. And
And
and I looked at
yeah,
it I looked at it this way too. Because I mean, the thought is, and yeah, I had this was things processing through mind. These were questions people were asking me: is in what situation does the winner not have the fastest time? And I actually thought about it in the 100-meter dash right now, because of your reaction time to the gun, you can actually win the race and not have the fastest time if you have that last microsecond crossed. It's the same as with because they now measure the gun reaction time, right? Because if you're too fast on the gun, they'll disqualify you, which again, I think is the dumbest rule in the world. But yeah, in the 100-meter dash,
yeah.
you can end up technically, because you're the first person across the line, but not with the fastest time if the other guy who is right behind you was slow on his reaction time and making up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it just, I agree with you totally. Is that it just I think I think most people want, I'm going to say a majority of people want the people who cross the line first to be the winner.
Yeah. It just makes for an authentic race.
I think so too.
It's interesting because as I look in the results online,
Hmm. Yeah,
it has Alphonse and Palmeiras listed ahead, although it says second
that's
and
right.
then first
That's right. So
underneath.
it is a little confusing, but it would be wrong to adjust their time, because that's the time according to the chip they ran.
Yes.
Now, maybe I think the setup could be different, and they did change it for the strong, where they actually did not have a timing mat at the start. I don't know if you noticed that, but there was
Yes.
a
Yeah,
red
yeah.
tape. There was no timing mat, which meant your time started by a clock. And it was like you're leaving the start line at this time of day. And then your chip worked as to when you crossed the line.
Yeah, I think if we could also think of the chip timing a little bit as a backup system
Yes, agreed.
and for, context of understanding how fast you did it and for your own personal.
Yep. And also for qualifications, and like not so much for world championships, but like a regular deck fit, you need the chips for qualification purposes
Hmm.
because you need to end your splits and all that cool stuff that we like to look at.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, I wish we actually saw splits.
Yeah, and I wish they were a little more accurate. But sometimes when they're not accurate, it's our fault, especially in the relay.
I oh yeah, I don't know.
Well, some
Our
okay. So when in the relays, and I know this because I like I'm really working on my rowing. I'm going to start doing some rowing competitions. I'm becoming very interested. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I like to check my row splits.
mhm,
You know what my row split was for my relay?
a minute.
I think it was like minute 10 or something like that.
Yeah, one of Heather's row splits was a minute one. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
dude, you set a
Heather's
world
hauling.
record.
She's hauling, baby. Yeah, and obviously what happens, and especially because I think Heather and I both, we had a rower picked very close to the entrance.
Hmm.
And if your partner stands close, doesn't even cross that line, but stands close to it, it
Yeah,
can set off the chip. And that's what happened in both of those occasions. So I'm like,
yeah,
oh, damn it, which was a little frustrating. But here's the thing, people would say, well, move it close, move it further out. The problem then
no.
is when you run by it, it clicks then.
You're not racing for accurate
Yeah,
split
yeah, yeah.
on the no.
Like I said, and then if you run by it, it screws up your lap times that way too. So you're kind of damned
Yeah,
either way.
no.
Anyway, and that's why on the strong setup, you'll see that there we had a line where the burpees were, and you weren't allowed to move your burpees past that line because that was the danger zone to mess up the chip for crossing the line.
Oh, okay.
So
Hmm.
anyway, yeah. So that was the whole decision base. That was the controversial thing. I mean, feel free to message me if you think I'm right or wrong. Um, you're not going to change my mind, but I totally love opinions and knowledge and chatting about it. And quite frankly, I just like the sport, so it's cool to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that was the big controversy, which to me, if that was the big controversy on the weekend, I think that's pretty good.
Well, and at the end of the day, maybe it's always you look at it as how can we make the sport better?
Hmm.
Because there was controversy and it wasn't cut and dry. So everyone's now looking to the rule book, and maybe the rule book just needs to be more clear. And I thankfully there was mention of it in the rule book. So then we had something to hold on to where we could use this to determine the winner in the end. And it wasn't just based on, our feelings on that day. So go back to the rule book. Maybe we need to define it a little bit better. So these things happen for a reason. And maybe it's just to help the sport grow and be a little bit more fine-tuned.
Yeah, and this one, like I said, it was in there pretty solid. Um,
Mhm.
the only problem, and people have this with rule books, is the more defined you make it, sometimes the more difficult it can be to understand it because it becomes so detailed in so many different ways and accounts for so many different situations. I believe the rule book still, and I've been working on it. I've been helping work on it. I believe it still needs
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And I think it always will. And I think anybody who thinks a rule book is done and done and done and done, and you've been at this for however many years it should be done, hell no. Like
Yeah.
how many times does the NHL rule book change? How many times does the NFL rule book change? Every year it's a crackdown on this or a change in this or new equipment this or this change.
Yeah. And it's such a new sport.
It's always evolving. And I think if you don't evolve it, that means you're not evolving and you're not paying attention to what's happening in the sport.
Yeah.
So there you go. Controversial decision. Out
I
of the
have
way.
rules I would like to change in the rule book.
What do you want to change? I got some sway. Maybe we can do it. What do we want to change?
Like, really?
Sure, what do we want to change? There's things I
Okay.
want to change.
I want it changed that. So the rule about if you race an elite race one day, you cannot race an age group on the same day.
Hmm.
I want there to be an exception where
A
if
mommy
it's
daughter section.
if it's an adult youth race, it's the exception.
Hmm. For no personal reasons.
For no personal reasons whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, and this is my
I do think that's something that is warranted looking at.
mm,
I mean, that the rule is in place for a specific reason, right? We don't
I
want, yeah,
totally understand why the rule is there.
and it's a good reason.
Hmm.
However, your exception is a good exception. So
Yeah,
it's the trick is how do you word it to allow the good exception without allowing it to be abused? And that's
I
becomes
know.
part with a lot of rules and a lot of different things. Because, and I say abused, but in reality, everybody thinks their exception is a good exception, right? And so
I know,
that's
but I think mine is like the ultimate
I
exception.
do think I think it was like the worst news I ever had to give to you.
I know. I
I thought we were done. This is a podcast is over now. She's gonna kill me.
it was quite heartbreaking to me and my daughter.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because
Mhm.
you and for anyone paying attention, Bethany had to choose between running the elite team race to try to podium and win and running an age group with her daughter, which her
Yeah.
daughter and her did some miraculously awesome qualifying time and
Hmm.
actually podiumed in a race together. And she had to choose to do
Yeah.
one
And my
because
daughter, she had to do the adult weights in order for it to be legitimate. And I had told my kids, if you qualify in whatever way, I will take you to Florida and you will race at the World Championships. And so, leading up to this race with Emerson, we knew what time we had to run and then when we won and we found out we were 12th in the world, Emerson started telling her friends, like, me and mommy qualified for the world championship. And I literally was on the computer about to register me and Emerson. So my plan for the day was I was going to race with Heather, I was going to race with Emerson, and that was going to, and then Dave's like, you can't. And then I was like, it took me 3 days to break the news
oh
to Emerson because I was like, I don't know how to tell her because she told all of her friends that she qualified for the world championship with her mom.
which she
And then
did.
I was like, I can't because I'm racing an elite race with Heather. And yeah, and the thing that bothers me the most, like it would have, honestly, the race with Emerson was one of the highlights of my year with racing.
Absolutely.
And it was that her training kind of stopped
Hmm.
when I was like, you can't race it. And then her motivation to train with me ended there too. And that's more the bummer for me. And it was a fun thing for us. We weren't going in it with illusions of podiuming. It was so much fun racing with Emerson and yeah.
Did you
So
just want someone on the course shorter than you?
yes. Yes, there are moments when I feel very tall and it's racing with a 10-year-old. But yeah, there was just so much around that race that when I had to tell her, but I did say to her, obviously, because there was a lot too that I was like, oh, I will take you to Florida. So I was like, you're still gonna go into Florida, but I'm sorry, but you can't race. So, anyways, there was a lot of times too, even that weekend, where they'd be like, oh, why aren't you racing? And she would have to explain it to people. I plan to race with my mom, but because she's racing elite, she can't. Da, da, da. So there was just to me, it's very personal why I would like that rule changed, but that's all it is, really. I understand why it's there, but it was hard for me to not. I'll give her that opportunity.
Well, I'm going to say one thing about Emerson. Well, two things about Emerson. One, she absolutely earned her spot.
She did.
So she absolutely earned her spot. Number
Mhm.
two, the maturity level in that girl throughout the time that I've known her has just skyrocketed. And
Yes.
she was there this weekend. And not only was she in good spirits, she helped with the judging. She was everywhere. She was fantastic. So, and she was a great roommate. So,
Yeah, she
so,
is. Yeah.
so that was fantastic. I mean, just
Mhm.
unreal. It was heartbreaking for me too. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
I know. And then I was even like, just make an exception for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got crap for that, would I?
No, I understand it, but yeah, it's
So
tough.
since we're doing a little critique here, we might as well talk about, and then we'll get back to the races in a sec. Some of the courses, good and the bad. What to you hits as a good and or a bad or whatever? What do you got to say about the courses and their layouts and setups?
Um, I don't think that you should ever have to make fast right-hand turns. I don't think the mile setup,
I didn't see that coming.
well, I don't know what else you would be talking about, but um
But I get it. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Everybody's used to running left.
everybody turns left. Like I know if you never train on a track, if you never race track, you're kind of probably thinking this sounds really stupid, but the fact that they made the mile course go that direction, plus because so the warm up area for the fit was on the far end. So
Yes.
they could have easily just lined it up going that way. But for some reason, they made the mile go the opposite way, which was also the opposite of where the bathrooms were, which is also kind of weird.
Mhm.
Um, so like hard right hand turns when everything in the world of track is left hand turns is quite frankly it's painful and it's difficult.
Yeah.
I know I've raced track a little bit more than maybe some, but when I saw it, my like I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be very painful. And also because all my injuries are on the right side of my body. So um yeah, I don't understand why they did that. From a track racing perspective, you turn left.
I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't even know if that entered in the mind as a consideration for them when they set it up. I was not involved in the setup, so I honestly don't know.
Mhm.
I do believe you're right. They could have very easily done it the other way. I don't even think it entered into the equation of the thought process. Um, is my guess. So I don't know. I don't know why. My problem, and was it is with the mile course as well, is the zones were just too small to accommodate 30 racers during
Mhm.
relays and 15 judges and the extra couple of judges and camera people. They
Yeah.
were just too small, and it was very crowded. I have come
Yeah.
up myself and some others have come up with some ideas to fix this because it's hard to go wider
Mhm.
if you only have that
You have 80
distance.
meters essentially.
Yeah, you have 80 meters. So it's hard to go wider. But we've come up with some ideas, and I think you'll see them implemented the next time you see a big layout for a mile.
Yeah. If I was a team where I was maybe in your ninth, 10th type position and you had to barrel through the middle of the zone to try to find a station, which actually I was in the solo mile, but there wasn't as
Mhm.
many people as in
But
the relay.
yeah,
And
you
it easily took a couple seconds per station to just get through the zone to your station.
that was you and I last year at Worlds, and there was only 10 teams and not
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Juan and I suffered a bit from it this year too, not only because you have to go further, but it's very hard to find your partner, especially when your partner's bordering on a hobbit height. And Juan and I are not tall guys, and it was hard to find each other. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I do. There's put it this way, there's some improvements that can be made that are possible, and I think they will be.
And even just an awareness of it too. So if you're racing teams, and there's a couple times too when Heather and I were racing the mile where I when she was doing the station and I was getting ready to run, I was hyper aware of where my body was.
Yeah,
Just because there's these girls are gonna be flying out and I could be body checked and thrown, or I'm checking this girl because Heather's gonna be running or whatever, because you need a clear path to
yeah,
get out or in. And that changes a lot. And sometimes it would just be like media people who were just casually walking through taking
yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
And that shouldn't impede the race situation. So just an awareness, or the judges, they shouldn't be standing in the middle, they should be on the outside. Like there's just little things where we have to be aware of this and maybe just create some situations in the future where we don't have people in the line of fire, where people are flying in and out. Because
And
the mile is so fast and furious
mm.
and you are fighting for seconds. So you don't want that being impeded by just people casually walking through.
So I agree 100% on everything there. And like I said, I think I've got some solutions. Working on it, working on it. I don't want to just like blurt it out here in case, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
but I'm working on it. And even though it's not, I say I'm working on it. Many people are working on it.
yeah. The
Um,
collective.
the collective, nice, yeah.
Mhm.
Um, on the other side of it, I absolutely loved the strong setup.
The strong setup is perfect.
I've said this before that the team mile is my favorite to watch, but I actually think the strong surpassed it for me this year. And just that setup was so fun. And everybody's in their lanes. There's no bopping back and forth. It
Yeah.
was just pure, may the best team win.
Hmm.
And it created for such excitement in the solos, in the teams, everywhere. It was fantastic. I just that setup is bang on it. I can't. And when they did it now without the chip time at the start, although that's never really caused a problem before, I liked it even more.
Hmm.
So
It was a bit narrow when you did teams.
they could have widened it a little bit. You're all right, and
Yeah.
there was room to do so, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Um, Same thing with, box overs and the skier, and it was a very tight alley
Mhm.
between the two of them.
Yeah, like if you were trying to pass your teammate doing box over so that you could go to the sit-ups, it was very,
Yeah.
very tight in between. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I get you. So
Yeah.
the only critique we have is it could be just a little bit wider, give them maybe another 6 inches per zone kind of thing.
Yeah. I didn't see any situations though where it affected someone's race, but again, I was just personally hyper aware that I wasn't standing in,
Hmm.
a woman's way who was gonna just plow through me. Yeah.
Bethany is constantly defensive driving.
Yes, yes. I'm always aware that I will take the short end of the stick. So,
And yeah, so and then as far as the fit setup goes, the fit setup was what the fit setup is. It's the same as
yeah.
it is. I do think we might see something change on that. Maybe, possibly, not that even for the better. So maybe. Again,
Mhm.
collective is working on something.
The,
All right. So that's it for the setups. All right. Um,
the mile races,
mile races. Yeah, go for it.
which is probably to me the most exciting race in DEKA.
I think it's the most true hybrid race. I
That
really
could be an
do.
hour-long discussion, but
It could be. It could be. So we'll leave that statement and we'll save the discussion for another day. Bethany
yeah,
disagrees.
yeah. So the mile was interesting because we had Tara who sat out from the fit to
Mhm.
race to focus on the mile and the strong, and we had Rylan who didn't race, and so there was, Tara took out the mile, Rylan took out the mile, and then to me the mile, the female mile, was so exciting because we had some players who maybe wouldn't have been people's number one pick. So on the female side, Janelle Teal held her own like beyond expectations. And I raced Janelle a lot, and it's not like I was surprised by it, but wow,
Do,
she was nipping at Tara Jackson's heels.
do you know what Tara told me afterwards? So I think Janelle actually passed Tara,
Yeah.
maybe at the farmer's carry or the skier, somewhere near the middle of the race.
Janelle Teal might have one of the fastest skiers
Okay.
in DECA.
Probably at the skier then. She
Yeah.
passed Tara and she came out and Tara told me after the race, she was like, I was terrified.
Uh-huh.
She said, if this had been, and I'll use Bethany for an example. If this has been someone, she didn't say Bethany, but I said, I'll use you as an example. If this
Yeah.
has been someone like Bethany, I'd have been cool and calm because I'm like, okay, I got the bike, I got the
Yeah.
tank, I'm going to outpower her, I'm a good finisher.
Yeah.
This was Janelle Teal. And she's like, I'm not going to outpower her.
No.
So
No.
she's like, oh shit, I need to go. I need to
Uh-huh.
be on the run. This is completely not what I expected.
Hmm.
She was shit. Janelle had her shit in bricks. She was like,
I
crap.
believe it. When I saw Janelle up there, I was like, oh, there could be an upset
Mhm.
here.
And I
And
mean,
Janelle is super focused. She's an amazing athlete.
yeah, like I have a lot of faith in Janelle and have become quite a fan of hers. But yeah, I was a little surprised too, but I was like, this is gonna get tight.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it was. She ended up coming in a second place. I mean, Tara managed to pull away. She got about 20-second win. But
Hmm.
like I said, it was not for sure. I mean, Tara pretty much just needed to repass Janelle and then not make any mistakes and hopefully hope that Janelle didn't have as much on the bike as she could have, you know.
Yeah.
Because I think
Which
Janelle,
again, I wouldn't bank it on the bike. Like,
no.
but I think just Janelle being, I don't know, 6'3", she
6'3", 280 pounds of solid muscle. No.
you might out burpee her, but Yeah, you don't want to save it to a burpee off.
No, and Janelle's burpees are solid too. They're not bad.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
Mhm.
great. And then in third, we had Katie Duke, who
Katie.
again, just rounding out the weekend of consistency, or
Yeah.
not rounding out, but like just continuing with her weekend of consistency. She has become a player.
Yeah.
And she, like,
Yeah.
she's another one that just running is so good for her. Like
Yeah.
he is quick, especially on stuff like the mile and the relay. When you see
Yeah.
her kick out those short distances, she can fly.
Yeah.
She was good. Anyone else in the women's catch on the mile?
Um, well, let me just pop this up here.
Brooklyn Nichols.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Brooklyn, also a very consistent contender everywhere this weekend. And
So young.
yes, yes. And just again has really focused on it and is up to her game as far as she, bringing on Dylan as her coach. And but then we had Tanya Thies again
Yeah.
right in there, who a lot of people don't know and we haven't raced because she's not from here. So yeah, it was a super exciting race. I was in this race, but not in it. Which is funny because I was in the race, but I was watching the race unfold ahead of me.
You were respected. You just had a good seat.
I had a really good seat. And like I said, I wasn't feeling great. And I think if my kids weren't there, I might not have even raced it.
Well, and I
Um,
think you were probably more focused on your team effort for later.
I was, and I knew there was only so much of me to give that day. So yeah, I did have a front row seat and I was like in the race, like, cheering on Janelle because I was just like, man, you're doing so great. And it's not like this is the thing too, and I could talk about this as a weekend as a whole, but it's not like I don't have beef with I I wouldn't want her to beat. It has nothing to do with who she's trying to beat. It's just, Janelle was having an amazing race, and I want her to succeed and to just and the same with Katie Duke. And I they were smashing it. And I think Janelle was maybe shocking a lot of people. And I'm like, you go, girl. And like I know her husband was there and I saw her twins there. And it's just
Yeah, they roll as a family unit.
yeah. And Janelle's just such an awesome person and a powerhouse. And it's just so anyways, and Brooklyn was she was a kind of a bit behind, but she was still right there. So I had a front row seat and I just remember I was cheering them on, like, like you go get her, like just have confidence. Because I think too, when you're in a race and you're battling it out with a Tara Jackson, there's obviously that, oh, have I pushed too far? Am I too close? And it's like, could I really beat Tara Jackson? So I was like, focus on it, Janelle, just to get the best out of her as possible, more than it has anything to do with beating any individual whatsoever. So, anyways, it was an exciting race to be a part of because it's so exciting and what was happening. But
And
yeah.
again, Tara Jackson, like just that's her girl. Tara's awesome.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I was cheering her on too, but it was a cool race.
Yeah. Yeah. She's just become like now she's the favorite now. So so everyone likes an upset, but
Yeah.
Tara's one of our good friends and
Yeah.
she another original Team OFX girl and we love her. So to see Tara win again and how
Yeah.
much Tara is it means so much to her. She's by far now the most decorated DEKA athlete.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
she's won every race, not every race, but I mean, she's won the fit championship. She's
All
won
of
the
them.
mile championship. She's won the strong championship multiple times, some of them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think everything she's gone through this fall,
Oh yeah.
it was really good to see her come back and have the confidence with her body to handle that level of output. So,
And I think sitting out the fit was a smart idea because
yeah.
she just said she didn't think that she was up to doing all three. So she was going to focus on where her best chances were.
Yeah.
And I think that was a wise move. I think that was smart. Well, and
Mm.
you can never doubt Tara for being analytical in the sport and being smart about it. She really is.
Yeah. She's one of the most analytical minds for sure.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
she doesn't just have her splits, she has yours. And I don't mean
Yes.
just yours, as in you, Bethany. I mean everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Tara's watching. All right, and then the men's, to no surprise, Rylan went out hot
Yeah.
and did what Rylan does. What did surprise me was that the way he went out at the beginning and knowing who Rylan is, that Grayson got to within 20 seconds of him by the end,
Uh-huh.
which just shows how solid Grayson is becoming.
Well, and I think this speaks to an athlete that has focused on this event,
Hmm.
and Rylan, who we all know doesn't necessarily train for a
Anything.
specific event.
He trains to
Um,
be as fit as possible.
yeah, and anything, and just be
Yeah.
super versatile. And his training is a little bit unconventional. So, and Grayson has just really dialed it in for DEKA specifically. So I think that would be definitely why that would have been so close.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing too, other people that get me here, Colin Stever, again, very consistent, have a great thing.
Yeah.
Well, Walkington, same thing. But Joe Cotto came out and
Mhm.
put in a really good mile. And I think that that is a great position for him, as well as Connor Bell. Those two there, I think, probably
Yeah.
outkicked their coverage in that race and looked really
Hmm.
good in doing so. So
Yeah, Connor, our Canadian representing there.
yeah, so that was great to see. Um,
Cole's uncle, Al Walkington,
yeah, the
which
Walkington,
they were called brothers,
understandably, like his
but it is
dad
his
has
uncle.
found the fountain of youth,
Yes.
right? And he's not being nice because he's not sharing it with everybody. Dude
Yeah.
is a monster. He looks great. He's killing it out there. He's strong. He's fast.
Yeah.
You know, they are deadly. I mean, they did run relay together later on and show just how good they were.
Well, they were third in the fit relay, him, Cole, and his dad.
And again, if it wasn't for the bike, they may have won.
Hmm.
You know, they just don't have that mass
Yeah.
to get that bike going the way some of the big guys do.
Hmm.
But if they ever figure it out, everybody look
Look
out.
out. Yeah.
You know? Or if we decide, hey, let's put the bike out for one day. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, hallelujah.
Even I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
So that was a good race. Was another good one to see. So mile was what it was afterwards. Like I said, I don't think there was any controversy. I don't think there was any big deals. I would like to see some tweaks on the course.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I'd like to see some tweaks on the course. It's still a fun course to do. It the layout itself is not bad. It just needs some tweaks here and there to make it a little more, a little less crowded.
Yeah, and a little bit better for the people not in first and second,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A little
where
more
you're
fair that way.
fighting for a position because it will change the outcome.
Yeah, where that your station that you get on the first zone doesn't put you at a 13-second disadvantage.
Yeah.
You know, so and that might be an exaggeration. I'm just throwing out a number.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's good. So go to the strong, or is there anything more you got for the mile?
Nope, that's it for the mile.
All right, the strong with the layout we like. Let's
Yes.
start with the women again.
Oh, the women's race. This race actually to me was one of the most exciting races of the weekend. Um, because of how it played out, and I don't think anybody predicted the top three this way. Um, so from the beginning, we had a pretty decisive lead from Raquel Ferres, and we know Raquel has focused on this race, and I don't think anybody would have put her out of the top three. She is a
I believe I had her in second.
yeah, she is a phenomenally strong athlete. So, and she was out in front going into the bike, coming off of the bike tank. Everything kind of changed in that tank. So Raquel ended up third, but Brooklyn, who came into the burpees in third, smashed out those 20 burpees faster than people would have anticipated and ended up in a photo finish with her and Tara Jackson. And even after it happened, people weren't really sure. And I don't know if people really saw it coming at all. When I was watching it, I all I knew was that Brooklyn was moving faster than the other two girls, but I don't know what reps people are on. And then it was a dive through the finish line. So ultimately, it was given to Tara Jackson, but it was barely by 40 hundredths of a second.
Yeah. 14.
Um
40,
1400
4 tenths? I don't know.
for yeah, anyways, very close.
It was under a second, is what we're getting.
Yes, less less than a second.
Now,
Um
the cool thing from this race, from my side of it, was yes, it was a photo finish, and yes, we did have the OCR reports footage of the finish where you could tell Tara got it, but it was hard.
yeah.
As we luckily had it, one of the DEKA photographers had a drone directly above the finish line.
Uh
And when they came across the line, so it was quite clear with that drone shot. And oh my, I was so thankful to have it, but it was perfectly clear. And yeah, Tara got the win, but Brooklyn was the closer. I think
yes,
if that race had been one burpee longer,
done.
Brooklyn wins,
Yes.
right? Or one more rep anywhere throughout the thing,
Yes.
Brooklyn wins. And it's just she closed so fast.
Yeah.
So she's just leaps and I think she's gaining with every year. And again, like you say, working with Dylan is just going to make her better and better and better. And
And
Raquel,
knowing that she belongs in the elite side of things, this is her first year racing
yeah,
elite.
yeah, yeah. And Raquel, no shame to her. She was put in a hell of a race. So, and I
Yeah.
talked to her after, and she's like, "Hey, my training paid off. I raced good." So she knows she put in a good race. It wasn't like she felt, like she didn't perform up to snuff. It's just
No. And
girls.
our top three women were sub 13 minutes
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
with the new standards.
That's fast. And
Yeah.
and and that's not that's a long course, right? You can probably add 10 seconds to that
It's
course.
a strong plus running 80 meters.
Yeah, so I mean you could probably add what do you think? 10, 15 seconds maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
15 seconds. Yeah.
You think so? Yeah. I
Mhm.
think closer to 10. Anyway, but
Mhm.
definitely gonna add time. So
Well,
those are
think about the distance of just running from, because we know in these gym setups, you literally fall from one station into the other.
yeah,
So even just adding the distance from running, running from the box to the sit-ups, running from the sit-ups to the ski erg, running from this to this, like,
yeah,
every station there's 3 or 4 seconds.
yeah. That's true. That's true. You could definitely add 10 to 15 seconds on.
Mhm.
Fine, Beth, 15 seconds. So after
And
the
we had Janelle Teal again following up into fourth, and she was someone too who was in third through a lot of this race. And I kind of thought it was going to be a Raquel Tara Janelle race. And Brooklyn got in there, and Heather White, who was in first place at one point coming out of
I think it's coming off,
early in the race,
wasn't it coming off the bike or was it coming off the
the rower.
rougher? Heather can row.
Yeah. And yeah, so she ended up fifth, like again, right behind Janelle Teal. So it was
Yeah.
such a close race.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I just look at that feud. That was like you said, highlight. And everybody in the crowd was going nuts because it was so close.
Yeah.
Um, After that race, I get to go back to the start line and brief the men. And basically what I told them is the women just put on the show of all time. Get out there and do the same, right? Like go and see if you can beat them. And they damn near did.
Yeah. I mean, same thing here. The men.
It was less than a second.
And same thing, we had Christopher Von Hoff take it out just like Raquel did. And a lot of people I think were well, I mean, a lot of people came up to me and they're like, who's that really tall blonde guy? Like
Sure.
I don't know. But his last name being Von Hoff, I was like, but it makes sense. He looks like
Yeah.
a Von Hoff.
He,
Um, he's a head taller than a lot of the guys.
oh, yeah.
Like I think he's taller than a skier.
He's
I
he's
don't know,
got to
but
be
I have
he's
a
got
tendency
to
to
be six. He's
overestimate
got to be
people's height.
6'7", 6'9".
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this so people
Is
don't.
you think he's 6'9"?
I bet she's 6'7", 6'7" to 6'9". I can
Okay.
ask him now because
You cannot ask me because I overestimate everythafybody's height.
after this race, He finally opened an Instagram account and he has
I
one post.
saw that. So he has one post.
And he follows us.
Oh, okay.
I think so. He follows us or me. I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention.
Yeah. But I was watching him row and it was the smoothest, lowest stroke rate. And I was standing around a couple girls that were close to my size and they're like, he's probably rowing a 130 right now. And it was same thing with the skier
Oh yeah.
because his hands could reach higher than the skier and just so smooth. And I'm like, he's probably skiing a 125. It's just, anyways, he was leading a lot of this race and he was overtaken again in the tank by Kevin Gregory.
Yep.
Um, and you know, it was so different than last year because last year Kevin had such a definitive takeover on the bike,
Yeah.
and um, this time it just didn't happen for Kevin because we have people like, you know, Christopher and Colin and these guys who they've also dialed in that bike and the ball over shoulders. There was cadence that was happening that was just extraordinary. So Kevin did catch back up on the tank, and then Colin Steefer, just like Brooklyn Nichols, threw a cadence down on those burpees that was just same thing. They like mind blowing, and you don't always know what people's number is at. And Colin flew across the line just less than a second faster than Christopher. So it was such an exciting race.
So Kevin was actually the first to the burpees, right? Kevin Gregory.
Hmm.
So he got the burpees first. And we got Yancey. So he had his judge, and then I got Yancey to go with Kevin, right? Because we were kind of overseeing form as best we
Yeah.
could, and to go with Kevin. And then Christopher was the next one in, and I'm watching Christopher, and man, he's moving well for a guy that size and doing burpees. I
Well,
was
that's what I said to people too. This guy is so tall, he's gonna get out burpeed.
anyway, so I'm watching him, and then there's nobody in between him but a few rows over. Then Colin comes in, so I'm watching Colin too from the same spot, right? I'm watching both of them, and they're both doing well, but I'm just watching Colin's cadence, and I'm like, man, I'm like, he's got to go. Chris has got to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he made up ground. So I think I had the best seat for it because I just saw Colin like leave
Yeah.
a step ahead of Christopher.
Well, and that's the interesting thing with the strong setup is you could have someone that's on the far other side and it's like they go unnoticed,
Yeah, yeah,
which was Colin.
yeah. He was almost on the other side of the pillar. They have the center pillars to mark the zones,
Yeah.
but he was on the lane right beside that pillar. So
Hmm.
it was just epic. It was just great. So, and again, under a second.
Yeah.
So he was just a great finish and great guys. And then the coast, you know, the Walkingtons were in there with some good racing too. And Kevin,
Yeah, Al Walkington in fifth place, Cole's
yeah,
uncle.
yeah. Just there's a Walkington in every race now.
Yeah.
Um,
And Cole was right there in seventh.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, Kevin put in a good race. It's not like, it's just the field is up to their game in the strong.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with there's so much accessibility to it now.
Yeah.
That everybody like there's one going almost every weekend somewhere. So you can, yeah, I think it's going to be more and more. We didn't have Grayson in this race,
Hmm.
and I think that's because he was oh, sorry, no, wait, sorry, what was this one he was in? Yeah, in the mile, Grayson came up with some cramping and was not, and essentially he wasn't up for it.
Hmm.
So that was the one thing we didn't address about the mile, or about no, sorry, and this one in the strong, we had Ryland start
Yeah.
but not finish. And then was it Grace? I know, yeah, Grayson, he didn't finish. He didn't do this one either. Because
Grayson.
Grayson was judging, actually. Grayson was judging Kevin. Oh no, Grayson was judging later on in the relay. Now that I remember. I see it's all a blur for me.
Yeah, what
I
was
don't
the
have him. I
race
don't
where
have
Grayson
Grayson.
dropped the dumbbells?
That was I think that was the relay, or was that the strong and then he dropped it? But he's not showing on the.
No, I think maybe it was the relay. Yes, the relay where Grayson dropped the dumbbells.
Yeah, because I thought he popped a rib or something, and
I
because
thought he tore a bicep tendon,
yeah, and
and
it
then
ends up he just said afterwards he said it was just a
his triceps cramped up.
yeah massive cramp, like just
Yeah.
crazy, and yeah, so that was yeah okay. Disappointing because I think that he would have been able to put in a good challenge there too, especially considering how he done on the weekend.
Yeah.
But I thought I thought that the strong was definitely for me it was the rate. I thought it's the race of the weekend. I think it's surpassed it for me
Well,
for
I love the mile in that there's the running aspect.
yeah.
So as we would say, it's more of a true hybrid, but I think because both of the strongs were there was such a like a finishing line situation
Mhm.
that people maybe didn't see coming that made it so exciting.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
I think that's just the nature of what that race is and it's
Yeah,
going to continue to be that. It was that
yeah,
last year, it was that this year even more so. And I think we're going to see like eventually you're going to see where like a 10th through 15 separated by less than 20 seconds.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to get closer and closer and closer on both the men's and women's sides.
Hmm.
So let's go and we could go through every race because there's still so many, right? In the relays and whatnot. What was All right, I want to talk because we're talking good stuff now. So I want to hit you with something that was an issue, swag. So people have a lot of questions. Apparently, the situation was a lot of people did not get t-shirts, did not get medals, and such and such. What I'm told is that obviously they didn't have them all on time. They didn't all receive them in time.
Okay.
Stuff didn't get there in time. So what they did, or at least what I'm told they did, was they gave medals and shirts to everybody in the solo. And then the teams did not get them, but they will be sent them.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get your swag, fret not, you will get it. And if you were, but if you're a, sorry, if you're a team and you didn't get your swag, don't worry, it's getting sent out to you. If you're a solo racer and you didn't get your swag, you might want to message them because I think there might, unless you already gave them your name and something like that, because I think they might be under the impression that the solo people got their stuff.
So I didn't get like I don't think there was anything there for the fit day.
Well, I don't know about that because I mean, I just watched a video and I swear I saw some guys at the end of the fit with their medals on their chest and stuff. So here's the thing. Yeah. So if you didn't get your stuff as a solo racer, you might want to reach out.
Yeah, okay. I know that my like Mason
Hmm.
got a t-shirt and a medal.
Good.
And to him, that's more important
And
to
he got
me
it for both races, right?
for both races. Yeah, he crossed the finish line, they put a medal. When he registered, they gave him his t-shirt.
Okay, good. Good. So I think that was the plan for the solos. Whether it happened for everybody or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, and if anyone wants to message me about it, you're probably wasting your time
Mm.
because I don't know. You'd be better off messaging Decker for that one. And I don't know
Yeah.
when. I'm not privy to that stuff, right? I'm not an employee. I'm still just a contractor for refereeing.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's something that's on an administrative level
Yeah.
that they would be dealing with. And I know they will make it right. I'm sure there was things that were just out of their control for why that didn't happen. It sucks, but I
The
mean,
the old slow boat from China.
yeah, and I mean here in Canada, Canada Post has been on strike for a month, so it's
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully they get that straightened out as quickly as possible.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's where we're at with the swag. I didn't even look at the medals of the shirt, so I don't even know really what they look like. I think
cool medals.
cool medal.
Mason did get his medals.
Okay. So and the shirt looked very Deca-ish,
Yes,
what I saw.
yes,
I would like them to up their game on their shirt next year.
yeah, like
Yeah.
something dry fit,
Oh,
unique.
I'd like dry fit. Maybe let
Hmm.
Riley do a design.
Hmm.
That'd be all right.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so that's the deal with the swag.
Mhm.
Something I'm going to touch on just quickly because it's doesn't. I mean, it's very simple. It's a good thing, but it's very simple. The live stream was really good.
The live stream and the media. There was, between the different media companies that were there putting together content, it was really well done.
Yeah, it looks like VJ is doing his own thing for kind of a media thing now. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
BJ Vids.
Yeah, yeah. I look forward to seeing some of that stuff because he was in there,
Mhm.
man. And he had some good looking hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I asked him, I'm like, what, when are you out there? Like, what's going on here? Get you out there. And he kind of smiled and refused to answer. So anyway, but I look forward to seeing his stuff because VJ can be very creative.
Yeah.
So I look forward to seeing how he puts it all together. And then yeah, there was like I said, there was drones, there was some other stuff, and
Yeah.
and live stream. The commentary was good. The video from the live stream was really good.
Yeah.
I
OCR Report did an amazing job. And even post-race interviews that they did, like, it was really well done.
I will say the sound still needs a little work. I'm nitpicking now. That like literally I'm nitpicking. That would be the next thing to up their game would be that this just
Mm.
the sound needs to be a little cleaner on the commentators. Because I know both those guys have good voices and good commentators, but sometimes it was just a little bit off.
Hmm.
I don't know how you fix that or whatever, or it's not
Yeah.
even that bad. It's just one of the that's when that is my biggest critique is that
Yeah.
the sound was
Yeah.
a touch off.
You know what I love during DEKA too? Um, is the live play-by-play commentary when you're in the venue. And so his name's Jeff, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I sometimes I wish that that was also heard in the live feed because, man, I he does an amazing job and he keeps his voice for 3 full days and he is nonstop. But when you're in the race, you know what's happening and man, it's so exciting. Like,
Well,
and during the strong, oh, it was just he does such a good job.
what about, and I mean, he does, he's fantastic. And I'm like 3 waves in, my voice is gone. And I'm
Yeah,
not doing what he's doing. He's nonstop on the whole thing.
yeah.
He's a credit to them. He's really fantastic. And the start line Mark as well. Mark is great on the start line too. They have
You know,
very, very good
they
team.
are special beings
Oh yeah.
doing what they do.
And Mark on the start line, not only does he MC, he organizes everything there. So he's like double duty. So he's
Yeah.
doing really, really well. Great. And both great guys, just good guys to
Mhm.
have around.
Mhm.
The big screen in the venue.
Yes.
That was awesome. And I do know Dylan said in his interview afterwards that he was actually using it during the race to see
Hmm.
where everybody was.
Hmm. The big screen was so awesome because you didn't have to be lined up along the course. You could see exactly what was happening.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. And then they had the center screen like a in the middle of a thing where you had people's results scrolling up,
Yeah.
down, across it.
Well, I mean, it was like being at a professional hockey game.
Yeah, yeah, it was like a smaller screen version of that kind of jumbotron thing they used to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean that's and the venue itself, like the venue itself was a great venue. It was
Yeah. It was amazing.
really good. It was a little confusing when you got onto the grounds to find the place the first 3 or 4 times. No,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got lost every time. GPS did not help me very well the first time. Actually, the worst GPS was trying to get the last day, trying to get from the exhibition center to the little Mexican restaurant on site.
Oh.
And it had me driving down cobblestone walkways. Terrible. And it could have just been like a straight line just going. Anyway, so, but the venue is beautiful. It was
Yes.
really good. The actual building itself was good. The facilities were. I never went to the cantina, so I don't know how that was for food and stuff or what they had. But
Oh, I
they
have no idea.
they did have what's it called? Well, first form. They're giving out like protein drinks and pre-race and post-race recovery drinks.
Yep,
And
my kids were thoroughly caffeinated. Thank you very much.
oh, dude, I think it was the last race, the the relay for the men, and we're giving the little speech, and one of the judges came up to me. He's a great guy. He helped out all week, and I'm stumped for a name right now, but he was amazing. He was a good judge. He was big help everywhere. He ran up and he brought me a bottle, like a water bottle, and it had, some first form stuff in it. And he had shook it up. He goes, "Here you go, man. Here you go. Take this, take this." And I'm like, I said, what is it, like a recovery drink?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, it's pre-workout." I'm like, "What?" And he's like,
Oh.
he goes, yeah, you're probably exhausted. You need it. I'm like, I haven't had caffeine in like 20 years. He grabs it out of my hand and goes, don't drink this. Gonna get you a bottle of water.
Had like 600 milligrams of caffeine.
I might have entered the race and won. Yeah. So I mean, anyway, but they had a lot of great stuff though, which was really cool. That was really good. And Titan 6 actual was there. I got two shirts.
Nice.
One I got because I didn't specifically had been planning to buy it. A short sleeve shirt to wear during my ruck race. Because normally I wear a
Mhm.
sleeveless shirt, and well, as you've discovered, sleeveless shirts and stuff wearing a ruck race is not great.
Yes.
Yeah. So so it was my plan to buy one and get it, and I bought it and I got ready to do it, and I ended up not racing. So
Yeah.
I just and I know that was one that I was looking forward to, but at that time, at the end of it, my legs were just shot. I had nothing left to give, and
Hmm.
I felt I was better served to the event to stay on the floor. So that's why I didn't do it. But next year is over 45 ruck. I've already got a qual time in. You can be damn sure I'm gunning for that podium for that one.
Hmm.
Better write that down.
Yeah, write it down.
Yeah. I mean, what you did though this weekend was, I mean, like putting you into that head judge position was so pivotal for the sport. And I had so many conversations with people too where they were like, Dave's doing such a good job. I can't even, I just saw him like hounded by like six people, pissed off after the race. And they're like, he's just handling it so well. And a lot of people too that said having you in that position and elevating the standards of the sport collectively, like, talking about the standards of the lunges, standards of the burpees, and then having someone there constantly making sure that the standards are upheld. Because, like, we know Yancey's not great at doing that. Yancey's, he's the golden
Nice.
retriever, right? He's like, we just want to make everybody happy. And,
That's
just whereas you need someone who's okay being like, no, that's, calling people no raps and even hearing your before the race speeches. And I kind of joked about this too before the female strong because I was hanging out with Heather and like you were like, Joe, fucking throw that. And I know your personality, so I know there's a part of you that's joking. But and I grabbed Raquel and I was like, because she was like, whoa, why is he so angry? I'm like, he's not angry. I'm like, you don't know what he's had to go through this weekend. Like, it's been a lot. And I said, he's just trying to make sure that everybody's safe and hold standards to the sport. And there was just so many people that were said that had so many good things to say about just how you handled yourself this weekend. So I just want to say too, like what you did this weekend was also extremely valuable and it did not go unnoticed by any means. And just, it was a really big job that I don't think many people could have handled as well as you did.
Oh, thank
And
you.
it probably comes from growing up in the mafia, but
And thank you. And people were super cool. And I said this on Matt's podcast. I leaned on so many people for help. Like not just like officials in DEKA, but volunteers and
yeah.
racers. And yeah, Jeff was awesome for me.
yeah,
Like, I mean, there were so many people that even the MCs, like I leaned on everybody. And you have to. You can't fricking do that on your own. It's not possible. So
no,
I
but
might
it really elevated the
yeah.
level of the sport.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it keeps going. Most people were very, very good. Yes, there was one person who was angry, and these situations happen. And some people will remain angry, but luckily, I think most walked away, even if they were on the bad side of a decision I had to make, that at least understood it.
Yeah.
They may not have agreed with it, but at least they understood it and they know where it
Mhm.
came from. And
Yeah.
that's all I tried to do was to like when it came to some of that stuff, where there are disagreements or whatever, because we're not perfect. Like I've said this earlier, I try to give myself a grade on how I did, and not just me, but I guess the judging in total, which is including me, and I give us an A plus for effort. Like there was no shortage of effort, and I say honestly about a B minus for execution. There's still so much more to be done. And so much more that can be better. I watched some of the videos back. And I'm like, oof, So I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy with how it went. I think that we're going in the right direction.
Hmm.
I still think there's lots of room to go.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of it, the reason it did go well though, was because the athletes bought in.
Yeah.
The athletes said, okay, they said we're going to do this. So we're going to do it. We're going to live up to it as long as they're living up to their end. And 99%, I don't know, a lot of the athletes
Yeah.
just bought in, and you didn't need to know rep them because they bought in already. They might need a little reminder here and there, and you heard like people heard a lot of them. Like we were there, and who was it told me? I've had a couple people tell me. I think it was Cheryl Snow said she was in the lead in her age group. And she came into the burpees, and I knelt down, one knee beside her, and started watching. She's like, I was shitting my pants. So I'm like, just the fact the buy-in and that we know that,
And knowing legitimately you will be no
yeah,
rep.
yeah, yeah. If you fuck it up, I'm
Like
gonna
that
call
changes things. And I don't think anybody in the sport doesn't want the sport to be held to a higher
it. Yes,
standard.
yeah,
It's just people have gotten away with it for so long. So as an athlete in a competitive environment, you do what has been allowed before you. It's not necessarily that you agree with it, but it's like, but if they're going to do it and they go faster than me. So
yeah.
I think just everybody collectively being held to a higher standard, like we want the sport to be elevated. So having someone that is always there,
Mhm.
or, there was many times when you were like, Bethany higher. And I'm like, I am. like, but I'm like, but if he's gonna no rep me, then I will exaggerate it, And it's everybody was kind of in the same position, and it's not angry at the situation. It's getting used to a higher standard, and that's completely okay with me.
Well,
Um,
I had some people come up to me after, and they would like put their arms straight up in the air and be like, "See, I can do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, do it on the floor. Why the hell do I have to tell you that?"
yeah. Yeah, and it's not always that people necessarily know that they're not. It's just
You don't.
you're racing and you're trying to go as fast as possible. And sometimes you cut it out a tiny bit too short, but it's not that you did it on purpose. So it's just like being reminded.
My last rep in my fit was super sketch.
Yeah, it was.
It should have been a no rep. She totally should have called me on it. I gave her hell
Yeah.
after. No,
Yeah.
but I
But
didn't.
and
I,
again,
I
but
had
it's
no
it's
idea.
a
I had no
yeah.
idea until someone told me. Right? I had
Yeah,
no.
and it's a standard that's just being it's being elevated in the sport. And even like my kid Mason was pulled into rep, or sorry, to judge a little bit, and he was pulled into the burpee zone, which is kind of the most pressure zone of all of them. And he was like, "Mom, like someone was just they were still just doing the old standard and putting it over their head." And he was like, "I gave him multiple warnings, and then I started no repping him." And it was the person that was winning the race in their age group, and he was like, I had to do it, Mom. I had to do it. And I'm like, good for you. But my kid's 13 and same thing. Like he wants to elevate the sport and hold it to a standard. And because knowing now we have, you're there and you're the head judge situation and we're collectively trying to elevate the sport to a higher standard. Same thing. My kid was like, I had to do it. I had to do it. I no repped him.
And
And then
it,
after he no repped him, he made it to standard.
yeah, and it filters down. And the other thing too that I try to make a priority is trying to have the judges' backs. And that's part of it. I had many judges come up to me and they were nervous. They'd be like, I had no rep that guy like 3 times. And I was like, did he deserve them? And they're like, yeah. And I said, good.
Yeah.
Right. I had people and the worst thing you have to do is a 30-second penalty for dropping the ram at the end. You hate it. And I had judges come and they'd be like, I had like he threw the ram. What do I do? I'm like, you give him I said, did he throw it? And they're like, yeah. So the rules are clear. They know.
And they will never do it again.
Yeah, yeah,
And that one specifically is for athlete safety.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I know age group races were lost because of that.
100%.
Very specifically. Yeah.
Yep.
Someone,
And
yeah.
it
Yeah.
hurts. It hurts to do. I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
But if we don't, then there's no respect for the rule. And
Mhm.
everybody just does it because, well, so and so, and so you have to get so I think it went well. I just believe there's still so much room to improve.
Mhm.
And to do so, again, we just need more people who are willing to come out and willing to judge and willing to do a good job. And at least now you're not just a counter out there, you're an integral part of it. And it
Mhm.
is a big deal to be a good judge, and it's a big deal if you get asked to do on the elite waves. Like that means we got faith in you. You're doing well.
Mhm.
Um, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. If any of the affiliates want help getting people ready or stuff like that or have questions, just reach out to me and we'll figure it out. We'll,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, and even in our like elite our relay, Heather and I, we had a kid who was I don't know 15, 16, and I remember him just saying like being confident enough to say stand up taller or
yeah.
do this. Like and not that I don't even know if I was bad, but it was just a reminder that you might be playing with the line a little bit, which we
And
all
that's,
do.
yep.
But I'm like, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. And even like I
Like have
remind,
a
when I
voice.
remind you, what I'm telling you is you're on the edge. You're
Yeah.
right there. And that means any worse, you're no rep. So
Yeah.
stop playing with the line and get it higher and keep yourself from getting a no rep.
Yeah.
So it was good like that. Anyway, thank you. And thank you everybody who like I got so much fucking smoke blown up my ass on the weekend. It was nice. It was super nice. It was super nice. But it did feel like you guys are giving me a little too much credit because it's definitely not just me. Um,
No, but I would say you're the man for the job.
yeah, well, thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And they can always pay me more if they like. I'm fine with
Are they paying you, Dave?
that.
Don't answer that question.
I will not discuss that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was it. Any other like Canadian athletes you want to shout out?
Oh, Canadian athletes.
Well,
I mean,
I'll hit one.
okay,
I'll hit one first. I'll hit one first.
okay,
Grace Tiffany and Lil Robotham.
oh, okay.
I think they came third or so in their age group, and I just know how much it meant to them.
Mhm.
And oh, yeah, okay, you go on. You got one now.
Uh, Connor and Jamie in that strong relay. So there was a couple missteps. You know, Jamie dropped the ram on
Oh
lunges and
yeah,
they came from behind and finished third. And this is one of those teams too where like they are loyal to each other and they work together and they they just they're always right there and Jamie has come so far and Connor has come so far and to get our Canadian boys on that third place podium position in an extremely competitive men's relay race,
the most competitive men's relay race I've ever seen.
yes, was just so exciting to me. And I love them. They're just such good people. So I was so excited for them.
So I made the joke last year when I was doing commentary for the Strong for that Connor Bell went in the woods, shaved a bear, taught him to ride the bike, and now they're here competing at Worlds. And I mean, Jamie, luckily I know Jamie's a good guy, got a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
That said, Jamie's not a one-trick pony anymore. Like he's
No.
become so much more
Yeah.
complete. I even saw him doing burpees at the end. Like
Yeah.
I
Which
don't
he didn't used to do.
know, and I don't think we're going to see Jamie running the fit anytime soon in the elite wave, but he's
No.
become way more of a complete athlete than he was.
Yeah.
However, I am going to make fun of him again because Jamie, if you have to take your shirt off by the time the lunges are over, you didn't need it to start. Just saying. So yeah, that was a good. Okay, me, um, Patty and Charla from Pure Impact,
Sure. Yeah.
another team that is we are we're buddies. We're buddies. Um, that field they were in for their age group was stacked, and they were by no means the favorite to win it.
For which race?
Women's strong, 100 to 119.
Hmm.
And I want to talk a little bit about that division two. Other than that, they went out there and they crushed it. They just put everything on the line and they just gave it everything they absolutely had, and they ended up taking the win. Which I know that I don't think anybody that won any races this weekend will be any more happy about than they were or deserve
Oh.
anymore. So they're just
Mhm.
great ladies and they did a great job and they worked their asses off. In that same division, though, we had two farm girl fitness teams, which is the first time we've had anyone from our little gym, any athletes from our little gym go there. And we had, well, we don't include Ryan and I. So we had
Jesse.
Rose.
Jesse, the owner of the gym, qualified and ran with Riley in their relay, and they had a great time. We had Rose and Linda compete in that same wave, and I'll be honest, Rose and Linda were the last to cross the finish line, and possibly the happiest.
Mhm.
It was to the point where they crossed that finish line, giant smiles, giant hug to each other. It was the point where Yancey came running over to just like get involved in the hug.
Oh,
So it was great. And then we also had Liz and Ann. Liz and Ann might have been ones that could have contended for the podium in that division. But like 5 weeks, 4 weeks before the event, Ann, who was the strong person of the strong, right? She would do the row or more of the machines.
yeah.
The
The
power.
Heather of the Bethany and
The
Heather.
Heather of the Bethany. Yes, she was the
Yeah.
Heather of the group. Was doing box overs, fell off and broke her wrist.
Oh,
She rode, skied, biked, and did the tank one-handed. So
that's super impressive.
she rode like a 202 with one hand
That's better than me.
in the women's 100 to 119. And then because she couldn't do so much, Liz picked up the slack on everywhere else and just I've never seen her so exhausted when she crossed the line. But they did it. She came with a brace on and did everything one-handed. And it was super awesome to see. So I mean that division was very close to my heart. There was a lot of people in that division,
Yeah.
and as well, Bridget. Oh gosh, it's the Sharons. The Sharons were in the division.
Sharon and Sharon. Yeah,
Another
love Sharon and Sharon.
another team whose blood is thicker than water, or water
Hmm.
thick. I don't know. They're not related. They're both Sharon. Point is, and if they were related, then their parents were horrible to name them both Sharon. No, they're not. They're not
Yeah.
related. They're just really good friends who are through it thick and
Like
thin.
loyal to each other, and I love the teams like that.
And they're more of a split it down the middle team. So
Yeah.
they did great. And I was happy. I don't know if they PR'd or they came really close, but if you came close to a PR on that course, you were moving. So yeah, I mean, just that was just a great race. And Bridget, and I don't know her partner name, but she did her first deck out at Farm Girl with us, Brigitte, and came out and
Oh, okay.
they went out. I think they got third. I think they came third, so they got on the podium, got some more Canadian content on the podium. So it was just that was one of my favorite divisions, and I was lucky enough to actually be on the floor for it, at least the second half of it.
Hmm.
So that was good. All right, you got any other? You got another one? Any other?
Oh, there's just something so special about the team races. And I
There.
do think that that's what makes DEKA so unique too.
Mhm.
And like we talked about it a little bit this weekend too, but about was the DEKA World Championships dead as far as a spectator standpoint. And I didn't notice it. So some people had messaged me that weren't there. And they were like, "Oh, was it dead? I heard it was there wasn't a lot of people and this and that." And I was like, "I don't know. I didn't really notice because to me it wasn't really about that. Like we're not necessarily used to in DECA having mass amounts of spectators because I think a lot of the times when you're going to DECA, it's not like people are going to DECA from a spectator
Yeah.
standpoint. But the the competition itself was what it was all about in the end. And I've never I've never been involved in a sporting event that you would call a world championship where everybody is just so out for everybody doing their best. And I race in the elite divisions and the elite female group. I don't know if this is unique to the females, but the amount of times where women were like, "You did so good," or like "Good on you," and girls that are winning, and where we're on the start line and we're talking about like, "How are you feeling? Like, are you okay?" And just I, it's truly at the end of the day not about who's winning. It's about are you doing your best? Are you okay? Like, did you get the most out of yourself? And we genuinely wanted the best for anyone that was lining up. And I've never been in races where, if I won or you won, I'm genuinely just as happy for you. And I felt that from anybody that I raced this weekend. And constantly throughout the whole weekend, where they were like, "You did so good on that." Like, even if I beat them or not.
Yeah.
And we're like, "You crushed that." Like, if we were in a burpee off or not, like, they were just as excited for me or for them. And just wanting the best for anybody that you were racing with. And DEKA is just so unique in that. And maybe it's because DEKA is still kind of small and it's not blown up necessarily like High Rocks where, it's diluted by the masses, where people that are coming to DEKA love the community
Yeah,
before even necessarily the sport.
yeah.
And I said that and I heard it from many people as well, where I'm just coming because I love racing with my buddy. Like I love training with this person and being able to do this thing together.
Yeah.
And I when I come to DEKA, I get to see so and so, and I'm the same way. Like there's people within the DEKA community that I don't get to see. Even Heather and I,
Mhm.
we did this together. These three races. Heather could have picked a better partner for the strong, but we were like, we're going to do all three of these together because it's so fun. And we do this for each other because we love racing together. And I don't get to see Heather unless I race DEKA. Although we have said that we are going to do a trip together that doesn't involve a race. But
I'm working on that, but I don't know what to do.
what are we gonna do? I don't know, climb
I
a
don't
mountain.
know.
Okay, that's still kind of hard. But like, you know what I mean? It's just I've never been a part of a community that just genuinely wants the best for everybody. We race each other in order to see what we can get out of ourselves. But if you do better than me and you had it this day, I'm so happy for you. And I felt that overwhelmingly this weekend above any other race weekend that I've ever been a part of. So was it more dead in the stands? Maybe. I don't really
Yeah.
know because I didn't feel that. And the competition itself was elevated. So it didn't really change that aspect to me. But to me, that was really, when I think back to the weekend, it was just so surreal the amount of support that specifically I'm talking about like the elite women and how they were with each other and just wanting the best for each other.
There was enough people yelling at me that I didn't notice there was a less of a crowd. Like,
Yeah.
but I am joking. But honestly, when I was on the floor, the amount of emotion going on, especially during that strong where people are right on the edge, it didn't seem like a dead crowd to me. They were jacked. So,
Yeah.
but when you talk about that, I mean, I had been very much looking forward to the mile relay. And simple fact of the matter is, Juan and I did not perform our best. We ended up in fifth, which I'm considering how we were both feeling, I'm very happy with. But I was just as happy and just as proud. Jeff and Trevor, Mike and Tim, Nick and Mike that in that race, like I was just like I was so happy for those guys, right?
Yeah.
And specifically Jeff and Trevor and Mike and Tim to end up on the podium, like
Yeah.
those guys cost me a podium, but I was super happy for them
Yeah.
because
I'm genuinely.
yeah, like I like those guys. I want them to do well. I'm gonna fucking smoke them next time, but I want them to do well. Like that's the
Yeah.
nature of
And
it.
only because it elevates you
Yeah, and they're
in
good
your own
people.
training. Yeah.
They're good people, right? They're just people I like. I want them to do well, and I'm happy that they're getting to experience that, and I know how that feels, and so I that is that kind of nature that you're talking about, right? You go. I think the people that go into most of the people that go into this, they know it's not all just about them. It's about the community and being happy for other people
Yeah.
and seeing everybody do well. Yeah, there was just a lot of that and a lot of good, healthy competition in in friendship. So
Yeah.
it was exciting.
Yeah, like I remember we'd be in the finishing corral, and I'm like, "You did awesome." They're like, "You did awesome." I'm like, "No, you did awesome." Like that just doesn't exist in the world naturally like that. I was just so blown away
Yeah,
by
there's not enough of it.
no,
There needs to
exactly.
be
And
more.
I don't and not in a fake sense. Like it was so genuine. Like so genuine in that people wanted the best for their competitors too. It's
Oh yeah.
just it doesn't exist in the world.
I mean, think of a podium where I saw Amber and Zach both on the podium with different teammates. And I'm like, I
Hmm.
think it was Amber and Kevin and Zach and Chelsea on the podium for the strong relay, co-ed relay. And I'm just like, that's kind of cool to be on the podium with your spouse, but on different teams. Mind you, I don't know what they had riding on the line and who got to do what when they got home, who does the dishes or whatever the case may be, what the bet was.
Hmm.
I owe some people some pizza, but I'll be happy to pay that out whenever they come around.
Yeah.
So it was just great. I had a great time. I had a good weekend. there are things that I would like to get better, to make better for next time, and I will. And I'm looking forward to a new age group next year. And for
Me
those of you,
too.
oh, are you? Yeah, are you? Oh, wow. For those of you in my age group, watch out because Juan and I, we be coming. Be looking to do some damage.
Um,
Um, Favorite moment. You said you wanted to talk about just some other. Is there any other favorite moments, or did you get it?
I mean, I talked about the race moment itself,
Mhm.
Brooklyn and the strong, Colin and the strong, um, that were that stood out to me. I think a lot of people just watching Lauren Weeks do
Yeah.
just a level of fitness that people were just so blown away by. Yeah, those were kind of the race moments for me. I I think too about someone like a Cole Walkington who he showed up in every race, and as someone who might be a smaller athlete, a younger athlete, an up and comer, and every time he showed up, he was a contender. And that's someone that everybody needs to keep their eye on moving forward in DEKA because it's just so cool that he gets to race with his dad and his uncle and um
And
yeah,
he's a guy you can't help but root for. He's just such a nice dude.
I know. I'm jealous he gets to race with his dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you
But
there.
yeah, and again, one of the stories too of the weekend for me was again, like I said, like what you did for the sport of DECA, and people said it all weekend too, was just elevating the level of the sport. And I think a lot of people would also say a big thank you to you and just being able to shoulder that because Yancey is not the man for that job, and he would admit it too.
Yes.
And there's people built for that, and um you definitely were the man for the job, and a lot of people would say a big thank you to you. So,
Thank you. I appreciate it. Although I did have my moments of failure. For example, on the fit on our last lap, I tripped over a sign and fell and slid straight across the floor.
did
One of my moments of failure. And all I could hear, like, I don't
you
even
get
think
up and take a bow?
I don't know because this was our last lap, right? We don't where we were in the podium position. I knew
Uh,
that, and I didn't know who where the guys behind us were. And I swear, I don't know if I'd even stopped sliding, and all I heard is one go, "Yeah!"
Heather would have just picked me up by my shorts and been like, "Go."
And I'm like, honestly, I got up right away. But if he hadn't have been there to say that, and I was a solo race, I could guarantee I probably would have been another 5 seconds getting off the ground at least.
Yeah.
But he's like, God,
Mhm.
Dave. I'm like, okay, we gotta go. And I'm blaming that on my slow last lap. That's why it was slow. That's because I
Yeah,
felt it
exactly.
wasn't because I was absolutely fucking dying.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
anyway, I think Beth, you think we're good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. Oh, take us home.
Yes, thanks so much everyone for listening and for everyone this weekend. It was just so nice to speak to a lot of people and a lot of our listeners too that came up and, expressed their gratitude for what we do. We love getting together and, shooting the shit about our race experience, and we're grateful that you appreciate it too. So thanks again for an amazing weekend and just making this sport such an incredible sport and just being a part of all that in our podcast. So till next time.
Anybody out there who volunteered, who judged, who got in there, even if, whatever the case may be, if you were out there for an hour or for 12 hours, thank you so much. And you're the reason we're going to be able to keep making it better. So take care.